Today's lesson is as inaccurate as an English speaker. Hello, everyone. I'm Mike.
Hi, I'm Kiki.
And we are back for day 2 of our look at how you shouldn't trust idioms for scientific advice. I think that's basically what we're kind of saying here. We're looking at some of those famous idioms that we often use to express ideas or to, communicate with each other in English. Many of them, because they go back such a long time, use animals as a reference. And probably part of the reason is that many of these idioms go back a long time when we didn't understand animals as well as we do now. Now we know that a lot of the basic premises or basic scientific assumptions behind these idioms are not accurate or true at all. We still use the idioms, but it's always kind of good and interesting to know where there's the difference between the idiom and science.
Right. And some of these idioms have been around for so long, and because everyone kind of just understands what these idioms mean, people still use it despite the fact that they might know it's not true, but because it's just so good at explaining or describing something.
Exactly. Anyone who's ever been an apple lover knows that an apple a day does not keep the doctor away. You will get sick even if you eat an apple a day. That is not a very sound scientific concept to try to live your life by. Apples are great, but they won't keep you alive forever. That's just a simple example of how the idiom and the facts might not quite match up, but we still use the idioms because they're just convenient ways of expressing ourselves. So let's look at 2 more idioms today, starting with our first one, how you might sweat like a pig. And it's in our first part of the article. Let's listen to it now.
Sweat like a pig. Someone described as sweating like a pig is very, very sweaty. But there's just one small problem with this. Pigs don't really sweat. The pig in this saying is not actually a farm animal. Rather, it refers to pig iron, an intermediate product in the process of converting raw iron ore into high-quality steel. Why does pig iron sweat? Well, as the heated metal cools, little beads of water form on its surface, making it look like it's sweating.
大家好，第一部分介绍形容词 sweaty， 它的意思是出汗的、流汗的或是有汗味的。例如 Larry always gets very sweaty when he plays tennis. Larry 打网球时总是弄得满身大汗。或者 Mike was sweaty after climbing the stairs. Mike 爬完楼梯后满身大汗。再来看到形容词 intermediate， 表示中间的或是居中的。例如 Pamela is an intermediate level tennis player. Pamela 是个程度中等的网球员。或是Students who complete the intermediate class can move on to the advanced level. 完成中级课程的学生可以继续晋升到高等程度。
Okay, we are back. So yeah, that's another one. I think I've definitely used this idiom in Taiwan sometime probably around July or August, around this time of year. It's so hot outside. Oh my God, I'm sweating like a pig out here. I'm sweating so much. It's like I'm a pig. It was quite a long time ago. I remember going, wait a minute. I read somewhere pigs don't sweat, and that's why they're always rolling around in mud and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's how they keep themselves cool. So yeah, sweating like a pig is kind of like saying sweating like a dog. Dogs don't sweat either. They pant, right? They just breathe heavily, and that's how they get rid of their heat. Not like humans, how we sweat, and that's how we cool our skin and cool off. But yeah, pigs don't sweat.
No. Let's talk about this idiom. Someone described as sweating like a pig is very, very sweaty. Ew. So when somebody is very sweaty, you're basically perspiring. You've got all this liquid coming out of your skin and all over your body. You're getting sticky and you're getting very wet. And usually this happens when you're in a place that's very hot. And because your body is trying to keep it cool, it needs to let out all this moisture out of the body so you could feel better. So when somebody sweats a lot, they will usually describe someone as, hey, you're sweating like a pig. It means you're really sweaty.
Yeah, they might say you're drenched or something like that, like you're soaked with water. In this case, that water is sweat. We can use sweat, of course, as the noun. That's the liquid that we call that comes out of those little holes in your skin to cool you down. And also the verb, to have that happen to you, to have that action, is to sweat. When you go to the gym, you will sweat, and you might wipe the sweat off your face with a towel or something like that. So that's humans, okay? Yeah, we sweat, absolutely. That is how we control our body temperature. But, and here's the big but there's just one small problem with this. Pigs don't really sweat. So sweating like a pig and talking about that kind of pig, it doesn't make any sense because pigs don't sweat. Their bodies just don't have that same ability that humans have. But here's the interesting part. The pig in the idiom is not that pig. It's not the one we get bacon from. It's a totally different thing.
So we're not talking about the animal.
Nope.
The pig in this saying or this idiom is not actually a farm animal.
Now it makes more sense,
Okay.
but what is it?
Rather, it refers to pig iron.
Oh, pig iron.
So
okay.
This is really interesting. Basically, it's a piece of iron, and it's something that you use before you make this iron into something else. But because this pig iron, it looks like a mama pig with little baby pigs. So that's why they call it a pig iron. So it looks like a pig. So this saying, sweat like a pig, is actually referring to pig iron.
Okay, so it's just a big chunk of metal that happens to have the same shape as a pig when a pig is at a butcher shop or something like that. So it's really not a pig in any way. So rather, as it says, instead of being an animal, it refers to pig iron. This is an intermediate product in the process of converting raw iron ore into high-quality steel. Think of those steel factories that you see on TV sometimes with people pouring liquid molten steel from giant containers, and they pour it into kind of like a mold. It kind of looks like the ice cube mold in your freezer. So they're, instead of pouring water into that, they're pouring liquid metal into that, and as it cools, it releases some of its energy in the form of water. This is an intermediate product, so that kind of explains why we don't see it unless you've watched shows about the steel business or have ever actually toured a steel factory. Most of us wouldn't see this. It's an intermediate product. Something intermediate is kind of in the middle. In this case, it's in the middle of the process of making steel. You could think of lunch as the intermediate meal of your day. In most sports, they might take an intermediate break at halftime or something like that. So the intermediate is just the middle part of a process in this case, and the process is converting raw iron ore into high-quality steel. A lot of you probably know that steel is made by mixing iron, which is a natural mineral that we can mine from the ground. We basically mix that with carbon, and as you burn off a lot of the impurities in the iron, you replace them with carbon, and that produces a metal that is much stronger than iron is, and it is much more long-lasting as well, and that is what we call steel. And when you convert something from one thing to another, you're kind of changing it. Often in many factory processes, they convert things. They might take the skin off a cow and turn that into a lovely pair of Italian shoes. They're converting that leather, that skin, into leather, and then the leather into shoes. So when you're converting, you're basically changing things from one form into another. So why does pig iron sweat is the question. That's where the idiom comes from. But what is happening there in the steel factories?
Well, as the heated metal cools, little beads of water form on its surface, making it look like it's sweating.
See. So it's just kind of cooling down. Often when things cool down, right, we'll see water form, especially if the temperature is really, really different. So there you go. If you're sweating like a pig, you're sweating like a piece of pig iron, not like a little pink little pig. All right, guys, we got one more idiom for you in the middle part, in the intermediate part of our article. So let's check it out.
Eat like a bird. If you're a picky eater with a small appetite, you might have heard someone remark that you eat like a bird. It's not wrong to say that some birds eat only a little at a time, but when you add it all up, they actually eat a lot. And at the extreme end of the scale, hummingbirds can consume up to 3 times their own body weight each day.
第二部分看到动词 remark， 它的意思是评论、谈论或是说起。例如 Dave remarked that he only slept for 4 hours last night. Dave 说他昨晚只睡了4个小时。也可以说The old lady remarked that the weather has been particularly hot recently. 那位年长的女士提到最近天气一直都特别炎热。再来介绍片语 add up， 表示加起来或是合计。我们可以说 When you add up all the hours I've worked, it amounts to a full-time job. 当你把我所有的工时加起来时，它相当于一份全职工作。接着看到动词 consume， 它的意思是食用、饮用或是消耗。例如 Maria consumed a whole bag of potato chips while watching TV. Maria 在看电视时吃掉一整包洋芋片。又或者说 Companies often consume large amounts of resources to produce consumer goods. 公司通常会消耗大量资源来生产产品。
And we are back. So our fourth and final animal idiom is another popular one. Oh my gosh, you've invited your friend out to lunch and they've decided to order the half-size salad and they're just kind of picking at it and you go, what is wrong with you? You're eating like a bird today. Normally you have a big appetite, but today you're eating like a bird.
Does that just mean like, I'm just eating a little bit because I'm watching my weight?
I'm just eating seeds.
Oh.
That's really not good.
Well, let's see what's going on. If somebody says I'm eating like a bird, you're basically a picky eater. If you're a picky eater with a small appetite, you might have heard someone remark that you eat like a bird. Okay, so a picky eater is basically someone that's really choosy about what they want to eat. They might not eat everything that's put in front of them, and it's kind of hard to please them too because they only choose certain things that they want to eat.
Right.
Okay, so sometimes we will describe children as being picky eaters.
They're often pickier than adults, that's true.
And sometimes adults don't grow out of their picky eater phase. So
I don't like it. I don't like onions. I don't like garlic. That's too wet. That's too soft. That's too spicy. I don't like it.
We definitely see a lot of picky eaters that are adults, right?
Sure, that's true too. Yep.
Yeah. So a picky eater with a small appetite, somebody would call them or say to them, you eat like a bird, or they would remark them. Okay, so a remark is basically a comment to say something about someone. So you're making a remark about someone or a remark about something. You're commenting on a situation.
Yep.
You're mentioning it. So someone is mentioning that because you're a picky eater with a small appetite, you eat like a bird.
That's exactly right. And to comment or remark can both be nouns and verbs. I can make a remark or I can remark that you're eating like a bird. You just notice you're eating very, very small amounts of food, which is abnormal. So it's not wrong to say that some birds eat only a little at a time. Okay, so that might be where the expression comes from. Someone puts a little tray of seeds there by the birdhouse. Birds come, they land, they eat a seed, they fly away, and they think, oh, they don't sit down and just eat like dogs eat or something like that, like cows might eat until it's all gone. They kind of just pick at it and then come back later. So some birds do eat only a little at a time, but when you add it all up, they actually eat a lot. Okay. So you really got to give the bird a bit of time to enjoy its meal. It's not going to go rah, 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 and just eat all the food like it's a pig or like a hungry dog or something like that. It will eat all through the day. So if you add it all up, if you basically take the food that it eats all through the day and weigh it, if you could, you would find that actually it amounts to quite a large amount of food. They just eat in a different way. And with some types of birds, wow, they eat a lot. And we have a great example for you right here.
Right. The sentence says, and at the extreme end of the scale, hummingbirds can consume up to 3 times their own body weight each day.
That would be like a normal person eating like 200 kilograms of food or something in one day.
Right. Okay.
More than 200 kilograms
for
a grown man.
If we think about it, hummingbirds, they're small birds.
They are.
They're a type of bird that they fly backwards.
They do.
They're very small. They're really cute.
They do. They move their wings so fast you can't really see them.
So fast.
Yep.
And also they're able to hover over things.
They can.
Especially things that they're eating.
And their hearts probably beat like 300 times a minute.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Can you imagine such a small, fast-moving little bird? They can eat 3 times their own body weight.
I can imagine they use a lot of energy. I mean, imagine just like sprinting around all day long. Instead of walking, you're like running as fast as you can all the time, and you're talking really fast all the time. Yeah, you would probably use a lot of energy to do the things that hummingbirds can do so well.
Right, and that's probably why they need to consume up to 3 times their own body weight because they use so much of their energy.
Exactly.
So to consume something is basically when you are eating or drinking something. And when you're eating or drinking your food or drinks or water or sweet things, your body is using these things to convert into energy or other minerals. So your body is also consuming and using the things that you're eating.
Exactly right. It's burning them up. In the same way that your car consumes gas to give itself power, a power station might consume oil or coal or gas to create electricity. So there you go. Animal idioms are great. Don't trust them in science class. All right, guys, we have one more little part of the article to go.
Of course, not all animal-related sayings are false. Startled deer really do freeze like a deer in the headlights, and bees genuinely make a beeline for their hives. In any case, why worry over a few inaccuracies when you could have a great time using English idioms instead?
第3部分介绍动词 startle， 指的是使惊吓或是使大吃一惊。在课文中 startled 为过去分词做形容词的用法是受惊吓的意思。举例来说， The startled deer quickly ran away into the forest. 那只受惊吓的鹿迅速地逃入森林。最后可以看到名词 hive 表示蜂巢或是蜂箱。我们可以说The beekeeper carefully inspected the hive to ensure the health of the bees. 养蜂人仔细检查蜂巢，以确保蜜蜂们的健康。也可以说 Don't place your hive somewhere that is very windy. 不要把你的蜂箱放在风很大的地方。
And we are back. So, of course, it says not all animal-related sayings are false. Some animal sayings can be trusted and do have good science behind them. For example, startled deer really do freeze like a deer in the headlights. Okay, there's another animal. He froze like a deer in the headlights when his wife caught him texting with another girl or something like that. Oh my God, you're shocked, you're startled, you're scared. If you're startled, you're scared, you've been surprised in some kind of situation where you didn't expect people to see you, that kind of thing. You're scared, you're nervous, you react very quickly. And some people, when that happens, they freeze, they stop moving, just like a deer in the headlights. This does not mean they become frozen. Their temperature goes really low. It just means they stop moving as if they were frozen. Like a deer in the headlights. If anyone has driven around a country at night with deer, you might notice that sometimes if the deer is in the middle of the road and your car turns the corner and surprises them, the deer won't run away. It'll just stand there in the middle of the road, frozen as if it was frozen, because the headlights of your car have startled it, and the deer is kind of freezing, hoping that it doesn't get seen, rather than just running away instantly. Headlights, of course, are the lights at the front of your car that allow you to see the road safely at night. Bees, yes, they genuinely make a beeline for their hives. I'm going to make a beeline for my home. I'm going straight home.
Okay, so when something is genuinely something, it means it is really that thing. They actually do this. So bees actually make a beeline for their hives, or they actually run back. When you say make a beeline for something, you're running straight back to something.
Yep.
And a hive is basically a place where bees live.
Yeah.
So they are making a beeline. They're going straight back to their home, the beehive.
Okay, so they wander around while they're collecting their pollen, but once they have enough, they go straight home, just like the expression or the idiom says. In any case, why worry over a few inaccuracies when you could have a great time using English idioms instead? A very, very good point to end on. Don't worry about it. As we said, this is English idioms. These are not biology facts. This is English class, not science class. So a few inaccuracies, places where the facts don't quite match the idiom. Don't worry about it. Have a great time using English idioms instead. All right, let's go over to Hanny, our Chinese teacher.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文第一部分介绍的惯用语是 sweat like a pig， 像猪一样流汗，这表示汗流浃背。那么课文提到这个用语当中的 pig 其实不是农场动物猪，更确切的说它指的是生铁 pig iron。 这是因为当加热的金属冷却时，它的表面会形成小水珠，看起来像在流汗，所以才出现这样的说法。那先补充一下，文中它用到 rather 来表达更确切的说，更准确的说。那么 rather 当副词可以用来更正前面的陈述，表达更确切的说，而是什么什么或者相反的怎么样怎么样，常常会接在否定陈述之后。像我们就可以用 not 点点点 but rather 点点点去表达不是什么什么而是什么什么的语义。举例来说， She doesn't consider Rick to be a friend but rather an acquaintance。 他没有把 Rick 视为朋友，而是点头之交。好，那接着我们来学几个跟 sweat 有关的用语。第一个要介绍的是 don't sweat it， 意思是别担心。 sweat 在这边是口语用法，表示担心、紧张、烦恼。那所以下次身边有朋友为某件事情担心着急时，你想要安抚他，那就可以对他说 don't sweat it，意思就相当于 don't worry about it。 好，那如果你是告诉对方 don't sweat the small stuff， 这个意思反而是指说别为鸡毛蒜皮小事烦心哦。好，那么第二个介绍的是 sweat bullets。 同学们应该有看过卡通漫画里面的主角很焦虑或者是心惊胆跳时，那个汗水会直流，汗水都超大颗的，那就可以想象 sweat bullets 就好比挥汗如子弹。那这个用语通常是形容某人极度焦虑，非常紧张，非常担心。像是 Daniel was sweating bullets while he waited to talk to his boss。 Daniel 等着要跟老板讲话时，他非常的焦虑。好，那么第三个介绍的是 break a sweat， 字面意思是开始流汗，那这可以引申表达费力，投入精力做某事。那常常也会用这个 do something without breaking a sweat 来描述说做某事毫不费力。例如 He could beat you without even breaking a sweat， 他不费吹灰之力就能把你打败了。第四个介绍的用语是 no sweat， 字面意思是没有流汗，那可以引申用来描述某件事情不费吹灰之力，轻而易举。像 Can you help me move the table？ 你可以帮我搬那张桌子吗？那可以回答 Sure, no sweat。 好的，没问题。还有当人家在道谢时要谢谢你的帮忙时，也可以回答 no sweat， 那这就像中文说的这没什么小意思啦。好，那以上今天重点整理，我们来回顾今天的单字吧。
Intermediate. The intermediate stage of the task will mainly involve data analysis. Convert. You can use solar panels on your roof to convert sunlight into electricity. Remark. Mr. Gardner remarked that he found the student science projects very interesting in general. Consume. To improve her health, Lauren has decided to consume less soda than she previously did. Startle. The loud thunder outside startled the sleeping dog. Genuinely. Grace and Anita were genuinely happy to see each other after spending such a long time apart. Hive. The bees buzzed around their hive, working together to produce honey.
Discussion Starter starts now!
And we are back with our discussion starter question. Can you think of another animal-related idiom that is either accurate or inaccurate? Why is it accurate or inaccurate?
Yes, I think that the idiom open a can of worms is accurate since if you have a can of worms and you open it,
like you're going fishing,
right, you actually have a can of worms that you're going to use.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's a real can
Right,
of
to
worms.
open a can of worms means to kind of create a big problem that you can't fix. You can't put the worms back in the can because they're going to be wriggling all over the place. Yeah, I wouldn't want to put the worms back in the can. That sounds accurate to me. An example of an inaccurate idiom is the expression like a bull in a china shop. It's inaccurate because the idiom means the bull is going to knock everything over and create chaos in that shop that sells dishes and china. Again, I saw this on TV. They put a bull in a china shop. It moved around that china shop very nicely. It could see the shelves. It didn't bump into anything. It didn't knock anything over. Bulls are a lot more graceful than you might give them credit for. Well, that brings us to the end of another edition of our program, and please make sure you join us again next time. From all of us here, I am Mike.
I am Kiki.
See you next time.